say less. I'm back in that bag again. Yeah, yeah. Oh, say less. I'm back in that. Yeah. What you doing? Yeah, yeah. I'm back in that. Hey, where you going? Hey.
Welcome to the SBL Waiting Room, your one-stop shop for all things SMITE Pro League. There we go. We're going to be talking about Masters because that has happened / is still happening.
Oh.
We have semis and
Past,
finals.
present, and
Big if
future.
true.
And that's the past, present, and future. It's last week we did a lot of like qualifier bracket, which was the double elim for a lot of the SEC teams. Mifflin's, man, he's dangerous, man. I think unless there was anything that stood out crazy, like EU ran NA.
Yeah.
Yep.
No surprise.
And Hex Mambo.
All right.
And Hex Mambo
That's it,
got to
guys.
win over the SPL.
Nice. Wow. You knew exactly where he was going.
Yeah. Well, that's not where I was going, actually. I was
Oh.
going to say they won their bracket. And then we got to the main bracket. And then the main bracket, Hex Mambo beat the Gladiators. They came out and said that they hadn't been scrimming, which I don't think is the excuse they think it is.
No.
Hey guys, we had a big Masters event and we decided not to practice? I don't know. They lost there. Hex Mambo still looked pretty good against the Warriors, lost. Hounds beat the Wargs and the Ravens, and now they're in the top 4. Levi's and Kings got smackered, and that brings us to the top 4. I think that's the general recap.
Yeah.
Kings
Well
did get
done.
smackered.
Kings got smackered pretty hard.
Not only did they get smackered on field, but Aurora, that's the support for the Ferrymen, also laid the smackdown on Twitter. And it was,
Spicy.
look that up.
It was actually really good.
Aurora never tweets.
You want me to
You'll be able
just
to find
read
it easily.
No. So that leaves us with the Styx Ferrymen, Aurora, notably.
Yep.
The Hounds, who are in their own little matchup there in the Final 4. The Jade Dragons, who are the ones who did the aforementioned shellacking of the Kings. That sounds like a cool movie. And then the Warriors, who are still on a ridiculously long win streak. But, and it's because I need to turn my headphones up so I can hear it better, I heard that we have Blues Ultra stuff that we can look at specifically so you can see the recap of like what was going on last week, what kind of things were I'm trying to figure out the right term for it.
The
I guess
most
the flow.
parsable graphic we've ever had because there wasn't that much Smite. It's actually readable.
Did you just say there wasn't that much Smite?
Oh, wait. Yeah.
That was an
Okay.
insane amount of Smite.
Well, I just thought that maybe he kept it to the SPL portion of it.
No,
No,
he
actually,
did
I think
it
this
all.
states
All
the
of it.
pre-
Oh,
I
it's
think this states the
prelim.
I'm being told
bracket.
there's
Yeah,
4
actually,
images.
very
Okay.
specifically, it's the prelim bracket, so I'm pretty sure it didn't include the Mambo Glads or the Warwick Sound set. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
the 8-0, so that's just
Oh,
the
this
prelim.
is just
Prelim. And so the opposite of what Miff said, there was a lot of Smite.
16 games, in
Nick
fact.
just wishes there was so much more, is what
Yeah.
There were 55. There's a 55-minuter in there, and that was
I
along.
cast that one.
Yeah, that was alongside the other 50-minute and 40-minute game.
Yeah, that was a
in
very
set.
long set for...
Wasn't that also the last set of the day?
That was the last set of the day. Dimes was my chair 1 for that one.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was my chair 2.
What a time.
I jumped in to do some analysts, and I'm like, yeah,
That was
I
actually
get
really-
some-
hey.
I was like, I get some good reps for analysts, and I got some good reps for that one.
This is not analytical of the game at all, but that was a good cast from both of you. So
Thanks. I think we all did pretty good this
Well,
week.
golf clap.
I think I only cast one set.
I think we all did some good work this week.
Yeah, we all did some good work. I was also off Sunday.
3% kill participation.
Who was that?
Yeah,
Force
Grave.
total. And Grave at 95, but his team was not getting kills.
Sam is at 80.
Yeah, when your team gets 5 kills and you're a part of 4 of them.
22, and he's a part of 21 of them.
Yeah. Okay. It
Fabio
does.
most
You're
kills.
right. It literally says it right there. 87 from Sam is actually pretty crazy. Like
Words
87.8.
from Priv.
Yeah,
with
Sam's
148
Sam's is
Yeah,
the only
Priv-
impressive one of those 3
Priv
items.
dominated the ward game. 31 a game on average.
Love Priv.
He's great.
And Priv loves words.
Johnny got 50 kills. Most first bloods and most first blooded on the same team.
Now, it doesn't show it on this, but I do need to highlight that in this portion of the bracket, Julio had like 5 deaths in 8 games.
That makes sense to me.
Most multi kills, Johnny got a Oh no, that wasn't in the prelim.
Yeah, that was in the next bracket.
Man, imagine getting Pentakill.
We have a Soul Surge heat map?
Yeah, we do.
Man, the Valkyries heat map is everywhere.
It's all across the middle.
They are dying.
Well,
Well, I think that's just in
Dying and killing.
I think it's just in their games. That's where they pop up.
what's better is I'm pretty sure colorized. There's probably a way to lean into that and see like the role.
Yeah, the problem is
dying.
the problem as well is that
Look at the ones in the fountain. There's like no other team that has any in the fountain except for the Wargs and the Valkyries.
and it's probably in each other's games.
How did he pull these graphics? This is like brand new. I wouldn't think that Soul Surges are on the APIs. He does it manually from production.
Oh yeah, no.
Wow.
Blues Ultra is quite
He's
literally.
my man went in there and clicked.
Yeah, this guy does literally every stat by hand.
Blues, dog. You're nuts, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
Go give them a follow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the other half of this. Make sure you follow them. It's on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. Blues Ultra, BLUESULTRA, and they do fantastic work. And that's just like that. That's just like the SPL stuff. They also do like really nifty patch recaps, which
They are really
Patch
good.
recaps are how I study.
100% is exactly, yeah, that's how I don't read the patch notes anymore. I just go to Blues, I swipe through the skins and stuff until I find the thing that is relevant, and there we go.
Blues has been a lifesaver for a lot of people as far as their graphics.
Double down. I actually have Blues' 2023 SPLX stats spreadsheet open like it's on
here.
my laptop.
So there have been a couple of people in the Smite community throughout the 10 or 11 years that we have been a community
yeah.
Right.
There's
that
a
have completely dedicated themselves to the pursuit and sharing
Of
of
happiness.
knowledge. Flare Boot amongst them with the Book of Thoth. Blues Ultra, Gore Miser's a big stat man as well. But I would... Oh, you have
I was going to
another one?
include Jithan in there because he
Yeah,
did an
toss
insane
Jithan's
amount
in
for
there.
community.
But Blues is perhaps the first one to make it parsable information.
Yes.
When I read the Book of Thoth, I go cross-eyed, right?
Yep.
When I try and read your stat sheet, I literally can't
It's
navigate
literally
it.
made for me.
Yeah, I cannot navigate it. But when I see Blues Ultra graphics, I smile. And it's simple.
If me and J-Mac could combine our powers, he's got graphic design. And so he could take the things in mind that no one can read, except for me, and make it readable for other people.
Imagine if you just gave it to Blues Ultra.
Here's the thing:
and what he
is it would
do
take
with
like 3 or 4 of us to make one Blues Ultra. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yeah. No. I literally only do picks and bans for a reason.
So this has been the Blues Ultra hype hour.
Yes, it has.
We
Love that
really
guy.
appreciate it.
This is actually the rest of the show.
And I think,
so,
the
like,
graphic-
honestly,
and I think with those Soul Surge graphics alone, that should be enough to give that hype.
Clicked a lot of times.
that's a lot of heat. That's a lot of souls.
Imagine if he also got it to where how large the Soul Surge went on there, also went by the size of it because it can't increase.
That'd be crazy, and maybe too much work for one human being
Exactly.
to do. And so, as such, we'll let Blues Ultra rest because he needs it.
Until Saturday.
It has been insane. Yeah, until Saturday, and then you have to. I'm sorry, but then you have to pick it up again, and we can talk about. Again, what is the Final Four? I guess we can talk a little bit about last week. Outside, was there anything that stood out? Anybody that's like, man, I gotta talk about that.
There was one major upset, but it is evading my mind right now.
Hex Mob over the Gilded Gladiators.
That's not it.
Really enough.
That's not really
that,
enough.
that one was
Dragons over Kings.
That's it. That blew my mind. And it wasn't just that the Dragons had won. It's how definitive their win was.
Yeah.
Because every single one of the games in that set, it was relatively short when compared to the longest sets we had this weekend. I believe, 40 minutes at the longest game. But anytime the clock had extended past that 30-minute mark, I thought to myself, yeah, Kings. Yeah, any second now. They're going to group up.
Anytime now.
They're going to team fight. They're going to do the Kings thing. The Kings things, if you would. And they simply did not. The Jade Dragons just came out, and I wouldn't even say played the best Smite we've seen from this iteration of the Jade Dragons either. This is not the cleanest version of this team. It's just that might have been one of the weakest versions of the Kings that we had seen. And the outcome of that, the pacing of it, all very surprising to me. And I believe the only thing that really surprised me all weekend.
I mean, it was one that I think it was just straight up remarkable how quickly the games went by. They felt, even though they were maybe quote unquote lengthier than some of the averages we've seen in the past, they were just dominated. And like you said, not just that the Dragons won period after the way they've been playing for most of the phase. It feels like they've kind of finalized or realized what they want their style to be, maybe. And now I'm really curious to watch them against the Warriors. I kind of thought, like, okay, looking at the bracket, I would have said, all right, Kings Warriors move forward. And then that's going to be a hell of a set. No idea what's going to happen there. And then whoever wins that probably wins the whole thing. Now I have no idea anymore because the team that I thought was going to give a lot of run for their money isn't there. I think the Dragons could still do it.
What about the Ravens? The second seed.
They got eliminated.
knocked out.
That's right.
Yeah.
By the Hounds.
I was just trying to set up the boys for a little dunkers there.
I was talking about the Ravens, the second seed, who got eliminated by the Eldritch Hounds of all teams. Although it's not as surprising. Like, it's one of those things that, like, on paper that feels like it should be an upset. But then you go look at the standings and it was like, oh yeah, you were maybe 2 sets ahead of everybody else.
And the trajectory of the Hounds in the last few
that
weeks.
order side was just, anyone could have taken top seed pretty much. So I would say the Hounds versus the Ravens, technically an upset, but it was one of those matchups that could win either way regardless.
Not only that, and maybe this is getting ahead of it, but the Hounds are going to be playing against the Ferrymen, which has happened
Many times.
so much. It is,
frequent.
they would tie each other at the end of the phase.
Right.
Down to the plus minus and the head to head. Had to play another like a tiebreaker.
That's the one tiebreaker.
Yep.
And then I want to say met the Ferrymen again at playoffs.
Lost there.
Lost there. And now we're going to fight them another time here in the semis. So, J-Mac, how do you feel about the Hounds?
Hounds are looking really good. Whenever you finally get a team that like understands exactly what they want to do, they're not necessarily playing, at least beforehand, what we would say is the established meta, and you just get teams that are playing and players that are going on picks they're just confident for. Like, Coast is playing on her. Not many other people are playing on her right now. They're playing Hachiman, they're playing Cernados, they're playing Rom. Like, that's the top 3 hunter. Vaporish Coast looks comfortable. Nobody else in the league is playing Ra. Benny Q decides, I'm going to bring the Ra back out from the depths of Tartarus, wherever he had left it over the course of the last year. And he absolutely owns on that one. Quick comes out with the Ganesh, which we saw a lot of Ganesh this weekend, so it's safe to say that pick is probably
This is the year
pretty solidified that Ganesh is going to be making his way through. At least Aurora self-proclaims that it is going to be year Ganesh. I'm inclined to agree when it looks this good, especially with players like Quig piloting it. This Eldritch Hounds team, this has been one that has been on the uprising ever since they joined in. We kind of projected, they might take them a little bit of time. First phase, honeymoon, or at least freshman year kind of for these guys, especially for a few members on their team like Coast, Quig, and Oath, who have not been in SPL before. Didn't know how long it takes to ramp up. They hit it pretty fast, and I'm really impressed by what this team has been able to do through, piloted by the veteranship that they do have on their team from at least the previous seasons of SPL.
That's a team that I honestly, well, if they can get past the Ferrymen this time around, I have a lot of hope for. I guess this season they've kind of changed things up and given us, it feels weird to have 7 teams that are fully competitive because it feels like we haven't had that in 2 years, 3 years.
Longer than that. There's always been a delineation between the top, the middle, and the bottom. I think now the delineation at the top is a bit more extended than we had seen in the past. Mm-hmm. Previously, it was, barring that one phase run from the Camelot Kings where they were so clearly on top of everybody else. Usually it's a top 3 team league or a top 2 team league.
Yep.
We're back to a top 1 team league as far as I'm concerned right now from the Oni Warriors. But what I had initially wanted to say, and it's a bit of worthless information, but I know everybody at home loves the stats. Ducky has now tied and surpassed his win rate for the entirety of his career.
Yep.
In just this year. He is now no longer in contention for losing his player in SPL history. I believe that is now bottom 3. It's like number 1 Wowie at losing us, and then it's like me. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it's not me, and it's not Ducky.
That's why we always put a limiter on like amount of games played specifically, so that we can.
I think I had like 15 games, so I like to use that as a cutoff just personally with my bias stats.
Yeah. But you're not wrong. Ducky's like kind of insane right now.
Oh, he's doing great. Yeah.
It really it kind of begs the question. Like thinking about it for me, is it Ducky is playing better, or is it Ducky is playing a little better than he was, but is on a better team that's elevating him?
The conversation around Ducky has always been very interesting in that even on the teams year in and year out where he would take 0 wins home in a regular season, people say, oh, okay, well, it's, Ducky's playing okay. Ducky's playing all right. And I would say for the majority of those years, Ducky has been a very solid role player.
Yeah.
He's going to sit in your lane. He's going to clear the waves. He's going to knock down the tower if the other guy leaves, and that's about it. This year, it feels like maybe it's tying into what J-Mac was talking about earlier, as he is one of the veterans on this team. This year, he's coming to his own. He is a playmaker. He's getting aggressive. He's leading the charge. He's making massive individual plays on sieges and defenses. He's got picks that I think, for the first time, that might just warrant a ban. When I see Ducky on Hercules, I think to myself, okay, I've got some expectations behind it now. Whereas previously, when I think of Ducky, it was a whole lot of Sun Wukong and Jormungandr, and I thought he's going to survive. He's really going to live until the Titan dies. Yeah.
He stressed to me in the car ride to dinner after the event that night. He said, "I'm so mad I never got to play Jormungandr. It got banned from me every single time." He wanted to play that god, but he just didn't get a chance to.
You just had like a really good Yorm game, didn't you?
No,
Oh.
we lost.
Yeah, but like you had a good game.
Yeah, sure.
Even if the team
Debatable.
lost. Which might be...
Hey, relax.
That feels like it'd be the same argument. Maybe if they get it, he'll have a really good game. The team might still lose.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing... I realize I've done this in a weird order, but I'm okay with it. They're going to be going up against the Ferrymen, who at this point have just been looking really good. You got a Cyclone, Aurora, Paul team, and it's tournament time. That's like... Charlie, that's the formula for success.
Does seem to be. I remember the moment the Hounds figured out that they were facing the Ferrymen, they're like, we're like 1-4 against those guys now, right? And they're all like, well, oh well. And then they left. So I imagine it's a short memory sort of thing. Like, hey, we haven't had good records up against the Ferrymen as of recent, but every game gives more experience. I have liked what the Hounds have done with their god pools, but the Ferrymen in particular, I've been liking the switch-ups. You know, we always have similar conversations about this team just because sometimes their picks and bans are a bit wonky.
Yeah,
sometimes
Who's
they just,
picks?
you know, could be anyone, really.
Yeah, but like if you got one in your mind, I can see it.
Yeah, Paul, he's just so weird.
Okay.
Let's say it's 4 letters.
Like, he picks Baba. What's up with that? Nah, but I do think they've been heating up, of course. You know, they finally have found a bit of a rhythm, which is something that they were certainly lacking at the beginning of the year. I do definitely favor them in this matchup just because of, for some reason, the Hounds have not been able to get that consistent momentum up against them. But because the Hounds finally have some new god picks, the meta's changed, this is certainly more even than it has been in the past.
It's one that's, at least for me, been like incredibly entertaining to watch this team. Sometimes for good reasons, sometimes not good reasons. I think I even said that at the beginning of the cast. Me and Dave talked about the fact. Oh man, I remember Dave.
Oh.
No, we talked about the fact that like Aurora had locked in the op wash support, and it's like that feels like a different era, and it was like 2 months ago. Yeah. It is not something so far. That one's gonna be a fun match to watch. It is best of 5s, by the way, for the semifinal. And of course, the losers of either of these play in a third place match, so like they still have like money on the line, things like that. That'll matter to them. And then there's the one team that we haven't talked about, and I did this deliberately in my brain because last week I think we literally almost only talked about them for as much as we could, and it's the Warriors. And it's because they look, man,
14-0.
14-0, new meta, which you had said that they're always going to thrive in throughout all of this.
That's what I thought.
They definitely had a shakier set. It's a 2-0, but maybe a little closer than they had expected. So the floor is open. Warriors.
I mean, these guys are good. I think that's an easy blanket statement. Is these guys own?
How
these
many
guys
times
are really
can we
good.
sit down in waiting room and say the Warriors are still good?
But
Let's hope they're not.
I do have to say that I think depending on the level of competition that gets brought to them, there could be moments of fault. We saw when they were going against Hex Mamba, they had a really strong early game. They got a little too comfortable in their gameplay. Nearly wiped at a team fight. It was only SOT and Panatom still. No, SOT and Panatom still lived through there. And they had to make
that's all you need.
They had to
half
make
the time,
2
man.
versus 5 defense.
You can put Sot and Panatom into a lobby against any 5 players. They're probably going to win.
They had to make that defense at Titan. Titan lives with I think it was about 100 HP by the end of it, a single auto attack away from Hex Mamba winning that first game.
And Pagon says,
and then it kind of hit that realization, and this is the moment. He didn't even need to do the whoa. Like that was after the fact. But these guys they're good at Smite. That's the easiest way to put it. They're good, but they need to make sure that they don't get too comfortable because we can see whenever the faults do go through, slower pace games usually aren't one that they go through, and it was very weird seeing that 20-25 minutes in the game is 5-0 for those guys at that point. I think the faster pace definitely benefits this team a little bit more, especially now that you're going against teams who have started to develop that late game style of play. You have teams that are really good at team fighting together past this 25-30 minute mark. I think if you hit the ground run as this team, you're good to go. A few other teams are still able to match that momentum. But if you slow down a little too much, we're starting to see some of these picks really come out from the other squads to match up to them.
I think it's a conversation that the nuance resides in how highly do you rank Hex Mambo? How highly or how far do we think Hex Mambo would have made it had they not made contact with the Oni Warriors? And I think Hex Mambo would have made it very far.
Yeah.
I
think if they're on the opposite side of the bracket, there's a very real chance.
Dude, Mambo
that they
versus
make it to
Kings could have been a
finals.
fun set to watch.
Could have been very fun.
Mambo versus Dragons.
I think the Mambo are essentially just better Kings right now. That's how I rank Mambo. So seeing how well the Oni Warriors did perform in game 2 is where I put a lot of my weight in how this team is developing, because that was a clear decision from the Oni Warriors to slow down their game. Game 2 was, let's farm it up. Let's relax. We'll find a couple of picks. Let's take it to a late game team fight. Let's go there. Game 1, I think you're right. They got a little bit over comfortable. It was a 3-man push in mid. Why are there 3 people pushing post Fire Giant alone into a 5-man team? Of course you're going to get wiped. But the ability to make a comeback from that position, obviously amazing, but a little bit of luck incorporated as well. But game 2 was the Oni Warriors just flexing that it doesn't need to be an early game. It doesn't need to be we soloed you all in all your lanes
they're just
every
gonna play
single
Smite.
time, right? They played Smite. They played it well. The rotations to control points were phenomenal. They were rotating early to pyromancers, knocking down structures, taking it slow. And it's something that we really hadn't seen from the Oni Warriors up until this point, because they have been just dominating so handily. So would you prefer to see them play through the early game? I think so, yes, because clearly they're amazing at it. But if it does go late, I'm thinking they got that too, and that's a scary thought. So what are you going to do? Do we wait it out and play them there? I don't know if you're going to win there.
I feel like we casters cursed them into the best spot. I feel like we collectively had them low enough ranked early on, saying like mechanical players, but who's going to lead? That then they said, all right, we'll lead. Like, we're just going to be better.
Casters bless them.
Yeah. Well, we casters cursed them by placing them so low that they refused to be that low.
Right, so we bless them in that case.
But
We
I don't
said,
think you
they're
can call it
probably
a blessing.
Yeah, because usually like
Because I also will
associate
say
curse
it, and then
with,
like that dude dies in 5 seconds. Happens.
Also-
4 teams left. One winner. Who's it going to be?
this is tough.
Is it?
Is it?
I think they've got their answers.
I think this is tough. I think I still, just because of how dominant they've been throughout the season, probably still give this one over to Warriors, but I would not be surprised to see Ferrymen pull this one through, or Hounds.
That's 3 teams.
Out of 4.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, so it's Warriors. What I like about that is what I got is J-Mac doesn't know who's going to win Ferrymen or Hounds, but either of them have that world. Dragons was not on that list, though. There's no world, and I think that's fair.
Yeah. This is not to fault the Dragons. I think the Warriors are just that good of a team.
They are that good. Chelly,
Yeah.
4 teams. 1 wins it all.
Yeah. Probably some Oni homies.
Who
for
would it be?
sure. Those
Oni
guys.
homies?
Yeah.
Mifflin, 4 teams. 1 wins
One
it
win.
all.
I'll expand on it a little bit, because I don't need to say the answer.
don't have
Everybody
to,
knows.
bro.
But when I think of the other teams, there are buts. It could be the Jade Dragons, but
Oh, yeah, okay.
maybe their composition is going to be great top to bottom, or maybe they just have a Jade Dragons bad day. Oh, it could be the Ferrymen, but Sino might just int it up with a crazy selection
Yeah.
And lose because he
Here's
felt like
East Side
playing
Jungle
Surtur
again.
on day of, right? Like, but when I think of the Oni Warriors, I'm like, it could be the Oni Warriors. And it probably should be. So that's
probably-
where I'm at.
Look, I want them to go selfishly, because I just think the idea that they're going to set a very unattainable win record, and then I never have to keep track of it ever again, because no one's going to do it. If you get to like 6, if they can get 16, that's where they'd
How
be
long
if they
did
win both.
what was it before? It was 11 or 12?
It was 11.
It was 11 to tie,
originally,
12 to beat.
and then 12 earlier this year. I think the Kings set.
And the 11 had been set back in season 3
Three.
and had only been tied by the Olympus Bolts, I believe.
It was
it was the
Bolts,
Dragons.
It was
and then
tied like 3
Leviathans,
times.
It's been tied a lot.
and then Kings.
And we're up to what on the Warriors?
14.
You can stop keeping track.
Yeah, so if they do 15, 16, I can just stop worrying about it. I write down 16 sets, holy smokes. That's made more PG than what I'd type in my own personal spreadsheet, but then we're done. Nobody's going to do it. And then somebody does it in the next phase, because for some reason that's just how it's been. Is whenever the Warriors lose, whoever beats that team, that's the one that's going to be the next long streak. We'll find out. Can they get to 16 undefeated sets? Will they quite literally go from formation to undefeated in Masters? That would be absolutely insane for a team to do? Well, we can find out this weekend. Best of 5s on Saturday, best of 3, third place match into a best of 5 finals on Sunday, and hopefully you'll be tuning in. It's at the same time, same place that it always is, 11 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/SmiteGame. So thanks for tuning in to Waiting Room, and we'll see you in the SBL.
Oh, say less. I'm back in that bag again. Yeah, yeah. Oh, say less. I'm back in that. Yeah. What you doing? Yeah, yeah. I'm back in that. Hey, where you going? Hey.